My mother always said the basement was dangerous. After she died, I learned danger had never been the real reason she kept it locked. The key was exactly where she'd promised it would never be, hidden inside the old cookie tin above the refrigerator. I found it while cleaning her kitchen after the funeral, tucked beneath faded recipe cards written in her careful handwriting. The brass key felt heavier than it should have, worn smooth from years of secret use. For as long as I could remember, the basement door stayed locked. Whenever I asked why, she'd smile without meeting my eyes. Some doors are closed because they should stay closed. I believed her. Children accept strange rules when they're wrapped in love. After Dad died when I was 10, the house became quieter. Mom worked long hours at the local library, paid every bill on time, baked birthday cakes from scratch, and never forgot to hug me before bed. She was dependable, kind, careful, except about that basement. Every Saturday morning, she'd disappear downstairs for nearly an hour. I never heard voices, never smelled chemicals, never noticed anything unusual afterward. She simply came back upstairs looking exhausted, locked the door again, and slipped the key into her pocket. When I became a teenager, curiosity turned into frustration. One afternoon, I tried forcing the lock with a screwdriver. She caught me before I'd made much progress. It was the only time she ever shouted at me. Never try that again. Her voice shook more than mine. Later that evening, she apologized, but she still refused to explain. I hope you'll forgive me someday. Those words haunted me for years. When I married and moved 3 states away, I visited less often. She never complained. Our phone calls stayed warm, though brief. Every Christmas, she asked about my children. Never herself. When cancer came, it moved quickly. She never mentioned the basement even once. Not in the hospital. Not during hospice. Not with her final breath. After the funeral, neighbors brought casseroles and stories. Everyone described my mother the same way. Generous, private, reliable. One elderly neighbor hesitated before leaving. I always admired your mother's strength. I thanked her politely. She looked toward the basement door. She carried more than anyone realized. Before I could ask what she meant, she was gone. That night, I stood outside the locked basement door. The old brass key rested in my palm. I told myself I was only checking for water damage before selling the house. That sounded reasonable. It wasn't the truth. I wanted answers she'd never given me. The lock clicked open almost too easily. The door groaned inward. Cold air drifted upstairs. The basement lights still worked. Dust floated through the yellow glow. There were no old boxes. No broken furniture. No forgotten junk. Instead, neat wooden shelves lined every wall. Each shelf held identical gray storage boxes. Everyone had a year written across the front. Every year, all the way to last year. My stomach tightened. Then I noticed one final box sitting alone on a small table. Unlike the others, it wasn't labeled with a year. It had my name. Emily. Beside it lay a sealed envelope. Across the front, in my mother's handwriting, were 6 words. Open this before anything else. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside was a single page. If you're reading this, I'm gone. Please don't judge me until you've opened every box. That was all. No explanation. No apology. Only another mystery. I opened the box with my name first. Inside rested birthday cards I'd made in kindergarten. Report cards, tiny drawings, hospital bracelets from when I broke my arm, a dried flower from my wedding bouquet. Every milestone of my life had been carefully preserved. Tears blurred my vision. Then I noticed something else. A notebook. Every page described a single day we'd shared together. She'd written about my first bicycle ride, the night I cried after being bullied, the afternoon I announced I was pregnant. She remembered details I had forgotten years ago. At first, I smiled. Then I reached the final page. I hope someday you'll understand why I couldn't tell you everything. Again, no answers. Only another locked door inside my heart. I chose the oldest storage box. The year after Dad died. Inside were newspaper clippings, medical bills, police reports, court documents. None mentioned my father. Every page carried another name. Margaret Collins. Who was she? A photograph slipped onto the floor. It showed my mother standing beside a young woman holding a baby. The woman looked strangely familiar, almost like me. No, impossible. I convinced myself I was imagining the resemblance. Another document changed everything. It was a guardianship agreement. My mother's signature appeared beside a judge's. The child's name had been blacked out. Someone had intentionally covered it years ago. A cold realization settled over me. Had my mother adopted someone? Or had someone adopted me? The obvious answer seemed impossible. Yet every new paper pointed in the same direction. I wasn't her biological daughter. The thought hit like a physical blow. I searched through more boxes. Each year contained letters, legal receipts, counseling notes, and photographs. Every document stopped just short of explaining the full truth, almost as if she'd wanted me to reach the wrong conclusion first. Anger replaced grief. She had lied to me my entire life. She let me believe I knew who I was. She let me bury her without telling me. I slammed another box shut. A loose photograph slid beneath the table. When I picked it up, my breathing stopped. The picture showed my mother holding me as a newborn. Standing beside her was the same young woman, but written across the back were words that shattered my assumption. "Thank you for saving my daughter until I could come home." Inside rested only 3 pages. The first was addressed to me. "My sweetest Emily, I feared this day my entire life. You deserved honesty. You also deserved peace. Margaret asked me to become your safe place until she returned. When she couldn't, she begged me to become your forever home. I never replaced her. I simply loved you the best way I knew." I cried harder than I had at her funeral. The second page was addressed to my children. She described family as something built through sacrifice, not blood. She asked them never to doubt how deeply they were loved. The final page surprised me most. It listed the addresses of women she had quietly helped over 3 decades. Single mothers, domestic violence survivors, children needing temporary care. Receipts showed she had donated nearly everything she earned after retirement. The basement hadn't been hiding shame. It had been protecting privacy. Every yearly box represented another family she'd helped without expecting recognition. The secret she'd guarded wasn't about herself. It belonged to people who trusted her. I spent weeks contacting those whose names remained. Many had no idea she had saved others besides them. One woman told me Helen paid her rent for 8 months. Another said she drove through a snowstorm to rescue her children. A man admitted Helen bought his daughter school clothes every September after his wife died. No one knew the whole story. Neither had I. Months later, instead of selling the house immediately, I turned the basement into a small community archive. Not of private records. Those were destroyed according to her wishes. Instead, I created a scholarship in both Helen's and Margaret's names for women rebuilding their lives after abuse. Their stories remained confidential. Their courage did not. Sometimes I still stand outside the basement door. Not because I'm afraid anymore. Because I remember how easy it is to misunderstand someone's silence. I spent years believing the locked door separated me from my mother. In truth, it had been protecting promises she refused to break. Love isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like unanswered questions. Sometimes it looks like sacrifice nobody ever applauds. And sometimes the greatest proof of love is carrying a secret that keeps someone else safe. When my own daughter asked why I volunteer every Saturday, I smiled. Then I told her the truth. Because someone once protected our family without asking for anything back. She squeezed my hand. I want to help too. For the first time since losing my mother, the weight inside my heart felt lighter. The basement door still exists. But now, whenever it opens, it leads not to mystery. It leads to hope.